Hello, let me welcome you at this time to session number 22 in the series of videos designed to help you look at life from a more spiritual perspective. We talked about book lists, and we, in the previous section, session number 21, gave you a list of books from the first book list. Those books on the first list in the preceding session should give you plenty to read over the next year or two or more, especially if you feel, as many others do, that you need to read them all. Perhaps there are only a few of those in that list that you will feel drawn to read. You're the best judge of which to read and which to set aside. Just remember, however, that they would not be listed here if they weren't worth your time. Most of those in the preceding list, the first book list, should be available at a used bookstore or a library or by mail order, depending on where you live. If these books from either list are not available in your area, country, or your culture, there may be comparable reading from sources within your own area or country or culture to which you could gain access and read with, hopefully, equal benefit. If you're truly interested, dedicated, and committed to bringing additional spiritual development into your life, and if you have completed reading the books that you feel that you need from the preceding list, there is, following that, a second list of books that you may find even more interesting and helpful. We're about to talk about that list. As mentioned earlier, these are not suggested for everyone because they may bring about inner changes that could affect many aspects of your life. Excuse me. Although there may be a few of you who will decide to read books from both lists during the same general time period, it is strongly recommended that generally you should finish those books that you need from the first list. And that's going to take some time if you do it right, before beginning to read books from the second list. As always, very likely you will be the best judge in most cases, but it will be wise to evaluate carefully anything that seems to be a deviation from suggested reading, at this point in time at least. As a matter of fact, if you try jumping ahead, skipping over things that may not seem important to you, in order to speed up your spiritual development, especially when proper preparation may not have been previously made, then you may have results somewhat like a person taking medication, who decides that if one pill does some good, then a whole bottle must be even better. That's dangerous thinking for someone taking medication, and you may rest assured that it's also extremely unwise as well as dangerous to be thinking similarly in matters involving your personal spiritual development. Excuse me. Do not feel that you need to be in a big hurry. As a matter of fact, please do yourself a favor and make a point of allowing things to take a more reasonable amount of time. As mentioned above, this kind of development should not be expected overnight, and if you try to bring it about, it's going to bring harm to your progress in spiritual growth. It often takes years. Generally, it takes years. And it's often the worthwhile work of a lifetime, or perhaps even longer. Now that may sound very discouraging to some of you. But what else do you have to do with this life other than live it every day? From time to time, do what you need to do to increase your spiritual development. I realize that you've read that information and heard that information and seen that information here more than once. And you'll probably do so again because I've made a habit of repeating those principles that I consider to be so important that they cannot be stressed too many times. Let's talk now about the second book list. The following constitutes the second group of recommended books once you have finished those from the first list and taken the proper amount of time to do so. Book list number 2, Brother of the Third Degree by Will Garver. Zanoni by Sir Edward Bulwer Lytton. Initiation by Elizabeth Heich. Morning of the Magicians by Louis Pauwels and Jacques Berger. Forgive my pronunciation, please. A Dweller on Two Planets by Philos. The Spear of Destiny by Trevor Ravenscroft. The Seven Rays of the QBL by Frater Albertus. Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East in 5 volumes by B. T. Spalding. It is hoped that you will find interesting and worthwhile reading in this second list also. There's no doubt that there are many other books that could be added to both of these lists, including those from the various religious disciplines that we talked about. But these in these 2 lists will help you to make a respectable start, a very respectable start, on your journey along the path of life. And by the time you finish these lists, you should have a much better idea regarding what you want or need to read from that point on. It's not known if all the titles on these 2 lists are still in print. If you have trouble finding them, check for a used copy in a bookstore that specializes in esoteric books. Good luck. You make your own luck, you know. And good reading. Let us now take up the other study that we mentioned for this particular session. We will begin talking about meditation. A selective and patient reading of worthwhile books can and usually will be of significant benefit to all seekers, as we've been talking about, regardless of where they are on the path. There's another area of endeavor, however, perhaps somewhat parallel to one's reading, that should be considered as a very basic tool in the effort to grow and develop our spirituality, whether we are a neophyte or one who has advanced far along the path. That tool is meditation. Meditation can be a very worthwhile way to begin one's day. Ideally, the time should be early enough to allow you to find a quiet place to relax and sit comfortably. I know that there are many examples in the movies and television and elsewhere of people sitting in a certain position in order to get the most benefit from their meditation. If you feel that this is what you need, by all means, follow that which feels right for you. The same is true for prayer and other practices that people around the world should use to seek God, or to seek to be closer to God and the higher positive forces that serve Him. Perhaps, though, this may be a good time to suggest that in the final analysis, it'll be within your own heart where you will be judged and found to be ready or not ready for greater light in your life. It will not be quite so much the position you assume for meditation, or the place, time, or number of prayers that you make, or even how perfectly you pray. If, however, these considerations are an important part of your basic beliefs, please be aware then that because of that fact, whether or not you give appropriate attention to these considerations may be something noted by your higher self as an important indicator of your willingness to obey or not obey that which has been given to you. In other words, let's say it more plainly. If such practices have long been a part of your beliefs, and you are still comforted by them, or if you feel uncomfortable without them, then perhaps you have no need to make a change there. If, however, such practices have long been a part of your beliefs, and they no longer feel right for you, then it may be time for a change. Your own heart will help you to decide whether these rituals or procedures should be continued, or whether they should be set aside. After all, you are by far the best judge of such things, and you can make those decisions sometimes by prayer and other means. If you are uncertain what is best for you, as I stated, then a sincere prayer, asking that you be guided to do that which is right for you, would be most desirable and a very worthwhile thing for you to do. Excuse me. Getting back to the subject at hand, however, of meditation, Once you're comfortable, you may find it beneficial to sit down with your feet apart on the floor or on the ground, depending upon where you may be. Many, while sitting, find it additionally beneficial to place their hands palm down on the top part of the legs just above each knee. Close your eyes if outside things tend to be distracting. Attempt to empty your mind of all thoughts and ideas. It may sound like a difficult task, and it very probably will be until you practice it sufficiently. One should not expect, again, to succeed with the first few attempts. Sufficiently may mean a matter of days, weeks, months, or years. It's not important. If you practice it with the right attitude of heart and sincerely, whatever it takes will be the right amount for you. But be patient, in other words, for this is a very worthwhile endeavor. This work is not an overnight task, however, nor is the work of making oneself spiritually enlightened. These efforts can be the work, as stated many, many times, of many months or years, and even a lifetime or more. The beauty of it all is that you have available whatever time it takes. That last statement, however, should not be taken as an excuse to procrastinate unnecessarily. That wouldn't be wise. It's presumed that you're either a serious seeker or you want to be. Otherwise, it's unlikely that you'd be watching this video now. I want to thank you for watching, and I want to tell you that session 23 will close the subject of meditation and begin speaking about consciousness and communication with your higher self. You're invited to watch, and I thank you for watching this session. Again, thank you very much.